Hello, property nomads. Hope you're well. BRICS Summit is happening tomorrow, so 22nd to the 24th of August, and there's a lot of excitement and a lot of buzz about the BRICS nations potentially speaking about a new form of currency, maybe a gold-backed currency, and that is getting quite a few people excited at the moment for a multitude of reasons. Got an article from Reuters, and just going to go through what's being discussed tomorrow and how that could potentially impact, well, basically the world moving forwards. So these are things that are likely to be discussed. Doesn't mean they will be discussed. I'm sure the BRICS nations are keeping quite a few things to themselves at the moment. But one thing that might be discussed is BRICS expansion. So this would be by adding new members to the trading bloc. There's a lot of countries and a lot of key countries recently that have applied or have at least expressed an interest in joining BRICS. Countries including Saudi Arabia, Iran, the UAE, Argentina, I believe Mexico as well, Indonesia, Egypt, Ethiopia, etc., etc. Now, the one thing that these countries have probably all got in common is they're resource rich. Different resources, but they are resource rich. Obviously, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the UAE with their oil, things like Argentina with their silver deposits, a lot of natural elements as well. Indonesia, I think, is one of the biggest producers of palm oil in the world. Ethiopia with its coffee. Egypt, I imagine, with a lot of grain. So adding these countries into BRICS is probably up for discussion, and a lot of them are resource rich. And as we've seen over the last few years, there's a lot of resource issues that we've had. And so it's almost like we're going to an each country for its own sort of mentality. And if you're not resource rich, like the UK isn't necessarily resource rich, as in we don't have loads of, gold, silver deposits, diamonds, etc. We've got some good things, but actually we're quite resource dependent. Not a good situation to be in. These countries are not quite like that. So that's one thing that's on the table, supposedly, to be discussed. This is where it gets a little bit more interesting. A BRICS bank. So a lot of people have been saying that the dollar's dying, the dollar will die, it's the end of fiat currency, it's all doom and gloom. The end is upon us. The minute the BRICS are speaking with each other, that's it, it's Armageddon. I agree with that a little bit. I do think that fiat currencies are on a decline. I do think the USA does still have a lot of power. It will do moving forward. It will weaponize the dollar if it really wants to and if it really has to. In fact, we've been seeing that with the Federal Reserve policy. Why? Because it seems that Jerome Powell is happy to plop the US into a recession, knowing that actually a lot of the world will go into an even stronger recession. So it's like taking 2 steps back for the USA, but everyone else is taking 5 steps back. So the US does still have the absolute ability to weaponize the dollar if it so wants to. But what the BRICS nations are looking to do is looking to come off dollar dependency, which is one of those things that's easier said than done. They won't just talk about it, implement it at the end of August, and that's it. These things take a long, long time. It's why gold bugs and silver bugs, you've got to have patience. You've got to have a lot of patience with these things moving forward. But why are they discussing a new development bank? So that by using local currencies, they can de-risk the impact of foreign exchange fluctuations. Basically, they want something that's a little bit more stable. I'm completely with you on that. I think that's a very good place to be. If we look at the golden age of the gold standard, late 19th century, all the way up until about 1914, start of the First World War, that's probably quite a golden period for a lot of countries. Why? Things are pegged to gold. There's a lot of prosperity, hardly any inflation. If you look at the numbers historically, and that was really the golden age, pardon the pun, of gold-backed currency. Economic cooperation. So the leaders are also likely to discuss how they can improve economic ties between their diverse economies. Now, I don't put as much time and effort into thinking about all the different countries and all their different geopolitical stances at the moment. I'd recommend listening to Gold, Goats and Guns for that. Tom Wongo does a phenomenal job of that level of thinking. That's not something I do. He does it really, really well. But what they're expected to do is engage in a series of discussions about trade and investment opportunities across various sectors. The key thing, though, is this ranges from energy cooperation and infrastructure development to digital economy and the job market. So we'll go back to energy. Energy is the economy and vice versa. We're seeing a lot of Western people shoot themselves in the foot with this net zero by 2050 nonsense that's being bandaged around at the moment. And as a result of the West shooting itself in the foot, a lot of other countries are looking at the West going, hang on a minute, I don't really want a bit of this. What can we do differently? What can we do to preserve our national identity, our national security? What are we doing moving forward? As I've always said, the East, the Chinese, the Russians, they play a game of chess. Everyone else plays checkers or drafts, depending on what part of the world you're from. They're thinking long term, we're thinking short term. So economic cooperation and putting energy cooperation in that is crucial. And then lastly, Friends of BRICS. So the last day of the summit is expected to focus on talks with leaders from other countries. Invitations have been extended to 67 leaders across Africa, Latin America, Asia, and the Caribbean. Notice there's no Europe in there. Very interesting, although not surprising. France did express an interest, but apparently Russia is opposed to that. So again, macroeconomics, geopolitics, I'm sure there's numerous reasons for that. I'm just not able to go into it off the top of my head. Apparently, particular attention will be paid to the relationship between BRICS and African countries. This is so they're looking to get BRICS and Africa working in a more coherent strategic view. Why? Africa's very resource rich. It's also very corruption rich as well, if that's your cup of tea. And there's probably a hell of a lot of untapped potential in Africa as well. Now, the key thing, although it's not mentioned on the article, that a lot of people are getting excited about is, are they actually going to talk about a new BRICS currency? Are they going to talk about a gold-backed currency? We don't know, is the answer. BRICS nations aren't saying anything. There's too much speculation here. We will find out in the next couple of days. If they do discuss it and it's brought to the table, again, I'm not going to get involved in what could happen to gold and silver, but if there's some positive talks out of that, you can imagine there might be a spike in gold and silver. If there's no talks about it, then we'll just wait till September and October, because that's when Q4 starts. And I've got a feeling it's going to get nasty out there in the markets. That might happen. Has happened before, happened in 1987. It's happened in other crashes as well. September, October are really the dark months. So do pay attention to all of that moving forward. But all you need to know, BRICS is starting. This is going out on the 21st. BRICS is starting on the 22nd. It's running for 3 days. And I'm sure there's going to be a hell of a lot of information coming out from that. I'll do my best to recap all of that on Friday, so watch out for your YouTube feed later on in the week for this. As usual, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also share this channel with as many friends and family members as you can. The message that we're trying to send out is important. You've got to look after yourself. And we've got a lot of video content coming up moving forward. So like the videos, like the channel, subscribe to the channel, use that bell notification thing as well, please. And leave us comments as well to tell us honest feedback is good for the channel. And if you haven't already checked us out, Property Nomads podcast, please do go and do so. iTunes, Spotify, etc. Leave us a review over there as well. So yeah, BRICS is here. Let's see what happens. I'll report back to you later on in the week. Hasta luego.